serious and long-term. You can't be at the top of your game when you're super fatigued, so keep your athletes safe this fall and winter with this important booster. And of course, wear a high-quality mask whenever you're inside with lots of people. Visit sccfreevax.org or call 211 to make your booster appointment. Stay healthy and stay in the game.
On the docket at the Supreme Court.
Justices this week will consider the court's roles in hearing challenges to the Federal Trade Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Supreme Court is also expected this week to hear consolidated challenges to the Indian Child Welfare Act, used to decide child custody disputes on tribal territories. The court last considered that law in 2013. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
An Ohio man who allegedly told someone to go back to their country while attacking them has been charged with a federal hate crime. Darren Johnson is accused of assaulting an Asian student near the University of Cincinnati last year. Police say the victim was hit in the head, then fell and hit their head on the bumper of a parked car. If convicted, Johnson faces up to 10 years in prison. There was a stabbing at a ritzy steakhouse in New York City.
Police say the beef was over a bill that led to the bloody brawl. It reportedly started after a group of customers began complaining about their check. That caught the attention of other diners, including 41-year-old Joan Thompson. Thompson's table then began exchanging words with the group, and that's when witnesses say a man from the group allegedly began throwing punches, landing several on Thompson's younger dining partner. Thompson then allegedly picked up a steak knife and plunged it into the man's back. He's in stable condition and is expected to survive. Thompson has been charged with assault. Ted Linder, Fox News.
Time to buy another Powerball ticket. Last night's record $1.6 billion jackpot is now worth $1.9 billion since the top prize has gone unclaimed for 40 weeks. The winning numbers were 28, 45, 53, 56, 69, and the Powerball was 20. The next drawing is tomorrow. I'm Pam Huso, and this is Fox News.
Welcome to One Nation. I'm Brian Kilmeade. Thanks so much for spending another Saturday night with us. We have a great lineup for tonight. For example, closing the gap in Washington in a miraculous way. That blue state, desperate for change, crime out of control, especially in Seattle. This Republican candidate making a difference within striking distance. Tiffany Smile will be joining us, and that'll be great, I hope. But first, we begin with this. And it's somewhat of a panic time at the White House. OPEC Plus shocks the free world with a sudden production cut that will certainly mean using more of your hard-earned cash to keep the heat on at home and higher gas prices for your vehicle. Not good on both counts. You would think it would be time for the president to go back to Trump-level production when it comes to oil and gas, pulling a historic 10 million barrels a day of oil per day. Open up federal lands perhaps, cut away the bureaucracy, and drill and frack our way back to energy independence. But he's not. So what's the real agenda? Make no mistake, the president is helping Democrats' interests, not American interests.
We absolutely do agree that we need to be less dependent on OPEC Plus and foreign producers of resources like oil. The president is working so hard on clean energy solutions because that's really the future.
This is really bad news for American consumers, but the truth of the matter is that dependency on foreign countries for American oil and gas is a choice, and it's a choice that this administration has made repeatedly.
Not to drill offshore or onshore, not to give new leases, and that choice to go green. Green's not ready. The administration's making that choice. Biden's choice is to run to two enemy nations in the short term for natural fossil fuels. You got to deal with Iran, for example, if they choose that choice. Their million barrels of oil a day on the world market would bring global prices down. The ruthless country would rather kill every one of their citizens than give them all human rights. Most recently, law enforcement killing more than 100 people protesting the vicious beating and death of a woman who was killed because she didn't wear the right hijab or didn't put it on correctly. Not to mention their overall long history of terrorism. Okay, they could also pivot over to Venezuela, a nation proven to be the best at creating refugees and repression. A country where security forces are accused of torturing their people with electric shots on their eyelids, suffocating them with chemicals. Are those the people you want to get in bed with? Both countries brought together by one common cause up until today, They hate America. Dictatorships dangerously go against the grain in every way, shape, or form of what President Biden promised when he took the Oval Office.
I've been clear that human rights must be the center of our foreign policy, not the periphery.
Really? Human rights? There were no human rights in those countries. This, ladies and gentlemen, is panic. High oil and gas prices will make it impossible for the Democrats to have any hope of stopping a red wave tsunami November 8th. They are desperate to bring the prices down. Joining me now, somebody who knows all about the reality of politics, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, these series of events that happened in September leading to October, has it reignited those who say there'll be a red wave?
Well, I think so. When you look at people like your upcoming guest, Tiffany Smiley, you look at an Adam Laxalt in Nevada, Ron Johnson, who's now clearly well ahead in Wisconsin, Mehmet Oz, who's really closed the gap in Pennsylvania on the issue of crime. We're going to have a very, very good year. Kevin McCarthy is going to be the next speaker. But frankly, you know, Joe Biden did three things. He stopped American energy development. He sided with Iran against Saudi Arabia, and he was pathetic when he visited with the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia. So the Saudis look at all this and they think, why not go ahead and, you know, raise the price? And I think they know it'll hurt Biden. I think they want it to hurt Biden. I think, frankly, when you look at the price of heating oil in places like New Hampshire and Maine, and you look at the price of gasoline everywhere in the country, October is going to be a tough month for the Democrats.
It's unbelievable. And what you're trying to say by doing those things, this is self-inflicted. Sometimes natural disasters happen. Got to deal with it. Sometimes war crops up. You got to answer it. But this is self-inflicted, and their pivot is to go green rather than drill down. I want to go to another contentious race that got ugly this week in Georgia. Of course, you know Georgia quite well, and that's Herschel Walker, someone you've worked with before as a rookie candidate. So a lot of stuff comes out about revelations, about an abortion, a Daily Beast story. His son comes out against him. Can Herschel Walker bounce back from this against Rafael Warnock? Well, according to his internals, he's still 2 point. It's a 2-point game.
Sure. Look, I think what's happened is the Democrats realize on the issues, Warnock is gone. So they've got to try to find a way to destroy Herschel Walker. They did this to Judge Bork when he was nominated. They tried to do it to Clarence Thomas. They tried to do it to Justice Kavanaugh. They spent 5 years doing it to Donald Trump. But I think people understand this game. Warnock himself is frankly a terrible person. They ran one commercial totally distorting Herschel's former wife, taking totally out of context what she said. It's the sort of thing that you can't imagine if Warnock was seriously a preacher, that he would have approved that kind of a commercial. And in his own life, frankly, Warnock's got some pretty serious complaints. They have his former wife on a police body cam.
In fact, Mr. Speaker, I have that video. I have that video, and this is going to be, I understand, in the new Herschel Walker ad. This is from the police. Listen.
I barely moved, and all of a sudden she's screaming that I ran over her foot. I don't believe it.
This man's running for United States Senate, and all he cares about right now is his reputation. I've been trying to be very quiet about the way that he is for the sake of my kids and his reputation. I've tried to keep the way that he acts under wraps for a long time, and today he crossed the line. So that is what is going on here, and he's a great actor.
So when it comes to domestic issues, I'm not sure he even goes there when he has this in his past and present.
Well, they did it out of sheer desperation. They thought they were being clever. They took a place where Herschel Walker's former wife said, yes, he pulled a gun on me. They then edited it because the next scene is she and Herschel sitting together saying that Christ had entered their life. Christ had saved them. Herschel himself has written a book on mental health and is open about the fact that after all the concussions in football, he had the equivalent of PTSD. He's given over 480 speeches in military bases around the world, helping young men and women come to grips with the reality of mental health issues. And they cannot possibly beat Walker on the major issues. Warnock is a radical on abortion. He's a radical in raising taxes. He's a radical socialist on almost every issue. And if the question is about issues, Warnock is gone. Therefore, they've stooped to what is probably the dirtiest campaign in the country in trying to break Herschel. I talked to him the other day. I'm confident